Welcome to B-Flow Sessions, the podcast where we help you find and stay in the flow on the water and in life. I'm your host, Brad Burton. Join me as I sit down with paddlers, athletes, and adventurers who are all seeking the flow. B-Flow Sessions is brought to you by our friends at Pecan Kayak Retreat. Are you dreaming of a Chilean whitewater escape this winter? Picture turquoise rapids, warm sunny days, and world-class rivers for every skill level, all based out of a riverside retreat built by paddlers for paddlers. If that sounds like your kind of winter, then Pecan Kayak Retreat is the place. To learn more or to book your dream kayak trip, reach out to me directly at bflowkayak@gmail.com and I'll help you get connected. Also, thanks to our partners who keep us in the flow, Dagger Kayaks, Stohlquist Waterwear, Sawyer Paddles, and Level 6 Gear. Welcome to the next episode of B-Flow Sessions. I'm your host, Brad Burton, and I am joined by somebody who, this is my first time ever talking to her, but is just somebody who stepped away from the sport but followed it from a social media standpoint. You can't help but not to take notice of all the amazing things that Sage Donnelly has done in a kayak in her career. Sage, thanks for being on B-Flow Sessions.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm stoked to come on and meet you finally.
Yeah, it's really cool. So Sage started kayaking at a really young age, and we're going to hear all about that, but has gone on to become, one of the most decorated kayakers of her generation. Junior world champion in freestyle, multiple World Cup and World Championship appearances in slalom. She's won about every creek race imaginable out there. And I don't know, I think I mentioned junior world champion in freestyle, but just all around. I mean, I love when people are so good in multiple disciplines, freestyle, extreme, slalom, and can do it all. So again, Sage, thanks for being on the show with us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me.
So how did you find your flow in kayaking?
Oh man, well, I guess kind of the story is my mom wanted to learn how to kayak. So for their honeymoon, my parents went out and learned how to kayak, and I was a surprise. And so they said, as soon as they found out they were pregnant, they said, we're not stopping all the sports that we do. So literally, pretty much as soon as I could walk, I was skiing, rock climbing, kayaking, all that fun stuff. But my dad put me in a topo duo when I was 2. And so we kind of took off doing that. And it was really cool because about the time I was 5, they got me a Jackson Kayak Fun 1. And I kind of took a step out from the duo. And they said it was like taking my training wheels off because I had already learned how to do the edging and how to read water just by being in the topo duo. So that's kind of how everything started. And I'm not super sure how I found my flow necessarily. I think just starting it from such a young age, I've kind of sort of always had it, but I've just always had this deep love for kayaking. I think it gives you just this feeling that no other sport can. So that's kind of where a lot of my flow and my inspiration and drive comes from.
And you grew up out west, kind of in that, like Carson City, Nevada. That's your hometown, right? So what were your first rivers and things that you grew up on and learned to paddle on?
Yeah, we live looking down at the Carson River, so a little bit on that, but it is mostly flat water. So about 45 minutes away from my house, we have the Truckee River, and there we also have the Reno Whitewater Park. So mostly started out on the Truckee at the Whitewater Park, and then on a couple of Class 2 sections through town, and then kind of stepped up to the South Fork American River, and kind of just everything that's within driving distance in California. It's a pretty cool little location.
Okay. And then, at what age did you started competing at a really young age, even in creek racing, but talk to us about how, wanting to get involved in competition, freestyle, extreme, and slalom, especially at such a young age.
Yeah, I kind of started doing just local, downriver races pretty quick after I got on my own boat. I think my dad and I actually might have started down doing duo races in Kernville and stuff when I was really little. But my first kind of real competition that I did was when I was 7. I was invited to go to the Reno River Festival. They used to do this event called Paddle with the Pros. And so basically they would select 2 men and 2 women, and they would have 1 male and 1 female pro kayaker basically teach, generally they're newbies, but one year I was selected, and, obviously I wasn't a total noob, but, I'd never done freestyle really, so I was selected for that, and it actually kind of all fell apart last minute because all of the other people that were selected for it didn't want to do it all of a sudden. But I was really fortunate because Ruth Gordon, she's a previous freestyle world champion. She stayed on and was like, I'm happy to keep teaching you if you're going to show up. And so, I trained with her all spring and then did my first ever Reno River Festival. And then I went out and did the Colorado tour after that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And
then,
one of my next questions. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just
you go ahead. Keep going.
Inside of that. But yeah, and then as far as like starting creek racing, it was actually down in Kernville. Technically, my first creek race was on Brush Creek. I think I was about 9. So yeah, it's always just come really naturally. I've always just had this huge stoke, and every time I would step up and do a harder river, and there would be some competition around it, I'd be like, well, obviously I want to go do the race. Like, let's go.
Yeah, and so flow guides, you mentioned Ruth, but who else were your first mentors in kayaking?
Oh man, the entire Jackson family, Ruth, like Claire O'Hara. She came in a little bit later, but still super influential on my paddling career. Trying to think, like old legends like Tanya Foe and Nikki Kelly from back in the day. And then, man, there's so many. That's like top of my head. But
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, pretty much anyone who's been on the Jackson team from back in the day, like Clay and Steven and all the Jacksons, it's a super tight-knit team. And so I've been really fortunate to always be kind of taken under everyone's wing.
That's really cool. I always paddled Dagger boats and was on that team, and have recently, since coming back to the sport, have rejoined their ambassador team. And they've been super cool of just welcoming back in and things. But I was at the Golly Fest, and all the Dagger people I didn't know because they're all new. But so many of the Jackson people are still the people who are around from my day. So I was like, I'm super loyal to the brand, and I'm like so stoked to meet all these new people from Dagger. But I was like, but all my old friends are over at the Jackson tent, and so and they were all super welcoming, as well, like EJ and Clay and the whole Jackson family, but also the people, Liquid Logic like Shane Benedict and things. But that's where the whole community is. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. We want to compete and we want to try to beat each other, but it's all about just being on the river with your friends.
Absolutely. Oh, I do want to do one more honorable mention. Adrienne Loveconnect has been a huge mentor of mine, speaking of Dagger. So, yeah, add her to that mix too.
Yeah. Yeah, Adrienne's a pretty good mentor, and she's been on the show as well, and so it's really funny. I've got like this string of all these just incredible female paddlers. So I think I'm going to make it like a series. So I've got Adrienne and you and Anna Bruno and Anna Levesque. So a lot of really awesome female paddlers that we're going to do in a row. So that's cool.
That'd be super awesome. Yeah, we need more representation.
We do, but it's way more than it was in my day. So that's awesome. And I think having people, younger females like you and Abby Holcomb and people like that, that are out there, really popular in social media, but doing it in a positive, welcoming way, but still being complete badasses. I think, that just... and then you have people like what Anna does, where she does all these clinics and things. I think the female paddlers out there are doing such a tremendous job of bringing more people in general, but specifically females to the sport. So definitely. Kudos to you on that.
Yeah, we love the girl power.
For sure. This next segment's called Perfect Flow. This is where you're going to tell me about some times when everything was just perfect on the water. I mean, everything clicked. I'm sure there was probably plenty of those days, but see if you can think of a couple that fit that category.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty easy, honestly. I would say it's kind of funny. I don't think I've really found my perfect flow when it comes to competing yet, which is ironic because I've competed for so long. But I really have been able to find it in creek boating. I've done a lot of big stuff at this point, but I would say like my ultimate kind of like creme de la creme at this point is my line on Untouchables. It's one of the biggest drops on a section called Fantasy Falls on the North Fork of McCallamy River. And it's over in California, of course. And it's just this massive, beefy drop. And in 2021, I was doing a lot of laps on that river with Ben Stooksbury. And I just got this feeling one day. I was on a Royal Gorge, actually. And I was like, I'm getting off this river, and I'm going to go do fantasy, and I'm going to run Untouchables. Like, I have to. And so we got this amazing crew together, and I got in there, and everything felt good. Water levels were perfect. And I went in and just felt incredible. Just like everything was just flowy and smooth, and got to the bottom, and Ben ran it after me, and he got to the bottom. He was like, well, you made it look class 2, so I had to run it too. I was like, that's the best compliment I'll ever get. But that's definitely a huge highlight for me, is I was able to just completely get in the zone, and I've never felt so good in my boat. But I had that feeling as well this year. I managed.
Hey, Sage, you're breaking up really bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're having a little bit of a storm right now that kind of came out of nowhere. It's brutal.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You want me just to repeat everything?
Yeah, you were saying you did the lap on Fantasy, and then you were heading to Untouchables with Ben.
Yeah, so I was heading into Untouchables with Ben, and yeah, I've never felt so good on the river. I think to date, actually, I would love to say that has changed,
Wow.
but I think that was the best time I had on the river, and felt great. We actually did a 3-day in there, and just every single rapid I was just firing, and we got down to Untouchables, and I got in there, and just I've never connected with the water in that way, and just everything was just right on line, right where I wanted to be. Just kind of like skipped through. I was like, wow, that was amazing. And then Ben ran it after me, and he came down. He was like, well, I had to run it because you made it look class 2. I was like, that's the best compliment I will ever get from him. That was amazing. But that was probably one of my biggest highlights, and I had it again a bit this year. I went in, I was actually, again on Fantasy, I was the first woman to Fantasy flush ever, and so that's when you run all of the big rapids on Fantasy, including a gorge called I Want My Mommy, and yeah, I kind of was able to tune back into that again, which was really fun.
Wow. What about, I call this segment flood, and I know sometimes flood is a good thing in kayaking, but kind of the idea of like things not going well, and this could be on the water or in life, just sometimes that you would be willing to share with us where things just didn't go as planned and how you handled it.
I would say probably my most recent flood I've had was my second run ever on Untouchables this year when I was trying to do that Fantasy flush. I kind of really locked in on the line I had done before, which we had a different water level, so that wasn't the smartest idea that I had. So rather than kind of like approaching it like a new rapid, I was like, oh yeah, I know the line, like, yep, I'm gonna do this, whatever, like go. And I came in, hit the very first like part of the rapid, it's this curling wave, like slammed through it, hit a rock on the side of the river, spun around, ran half of it backwards, like rolled up at the bottom of the first drop, and then took like 2 strokes and my paddle blade snapped off. And I remember looking down and being like, well, I guess I'm C1ing now. And then I C1 the bottom half of the rapid, like flipped again. But that was my biggest flood probably. And it was cool because, you know, I've spent a ton of time C1ing. I think I started C1ing when I was about 12. And it's kind of my best kept secret is I'm actually better at C1 slalom than I am kayak slalom. So it was kind of cool for everyone just to like be like shocked of like, how did you do that? I'm like, I actually C1 a lot. Didn't really want to be C1ing there, but I'll take it.
That's awesome. What about low flow? Sometimes in life when maybe you've been away from kayaking, this could be, you know, for me, choice. For other people, it's injury or jobs or family. I mean, I don't know that you've been away from it ever, but, you know, have you had to?
I actually fast that I shattered my wrist this summer in July. And so I am just actually getting back into my kayak. I was able to paddle at Featherfest in end of September. That was my first time kind of back in my boat properly since getting surgery on my wrist. So it's kind of been a long summer. But besides that, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like I stepped away from kayaking in this scenario, but back in 2020, so it was kind of like 2020 through the summer of 2023, I lost my best friend. I'm sure you've heard of her, Sarah Rulin. And for a long time, for about a year, paddling just had very minimal joy for me. So it wasn't necessarily that I wasn't paddling, but it kind of felt like I wasn't. I was living on the North Fork Payette at the time, and I would get to the bottom of a run and be like, wow, I just zoned out through all of that. Like, I don't remember anything. And so I actually last year put a ton of work in to finding my love for paddling again. So
that's awesome. That kind of brings us to the current, what you do to find flow today. And this could be, again, on the water and kayaking or just in life. I know you have some other ventures outside of the boat that you do with your photography and things, if you want to talk about any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, especially in paddling, I've really focused on taking a step back and like actually remembering what I love about paddling. So that's finding joy in going and doing class 2 and like doing overnighters with my family, which is kind of really where my roots started. Is my parents like put me on their little raft when I was pretty much born, and we would go do overnighters all over the States. And so doing stuff like that and just making sure that it's like, I love doing gnarly stuff and I will happily go do that a lot, but also just making sure that I'm still finding the joy in like the little things of going and doing like my local class 2 or 3, and like just making sure that I'm enjoying not only the difficulty of paddling, but also everything around paddling, like the nature, the animals you get to see, the time with friends and family, like all of that stuff, and really just making sure that I'm appreciating like the roots of what makes kayaking.
That's really cool. That's something that I've rediscovered. It's easy to lose sight of that, right? Whenever you're chasing competition or sponsorships, or, you know, for us, it was back in the days of the kayak videos, you know, trying to get in the crew to go film so you can get in some, you know, kayak video or something. So it's easy to lose sight of just why we're out there from the beginning, of how much we love just being on the river and be with our friends.
Yeah, it's shocking how big and important it is, but how easy it is to lose. I've definitely lost that a few times. The first time I lost it was kind of around competition. I was just focusing so much on my competition results that I kind of got into this vicious circle of like being stressed out about not doing well, and then not doing well, and then being upset that I didn't do well, and like not having any kind of joy or drive. And I kind of didn't really get out of that mindset until COVID hit and all my competitions were canceled. That really made me take a step back and kind of evaluate.
Yeah. I got to a point where, I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I got to a point in kayaking where I was either scared or bored.
Yep.
And I mean, I definitely don't feel that way anymore, but at the time, and it was just like, that's not a very healthy place to be. And now I could be, like you said, on class 2, and I'm definitely not bored. I'm happy.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. I'll notice that in my friends sometimes, like we'll go do like a class 2 or 3 because, you know, we're paddling with someone that's their ability, and they'll kind of be, you know, grumbling, and, you know, not everyone does it for sure. There's so many people that love it, but it does happen. You hear them grumble on occasion, and you're like, man, just look around. Like, there's beautiful trees and flowers. Like, we can go do stern sports on eddy lines. Like, it's all good.
Yeah. Just a couple weeks ago, I was supposed to go. I had an appointment on the Nantahala to do like a film thing on a Sunday, and I was going to go on to the Ocoee on Saturday, and I found out that one of my former basketball players was at the Nantahala and wanted to go down the river, but had never done it before. And she just wanted to like go down on a ducky. And I was like, I'll go to the Nantahala and go down and take you down the river. And seeing her like experience that for the first time, like that was way more fun that day than I could ever have on the Ecoe.
That's
So
awesome.
that was really cool.
That's really cool. That's special.
Yeah, for sure. What about any? I mean, are you still competing and things like that? What are your future plans in the sport?
I would say kind of my focus and like my main just like priority, like thing that I'm putting above everything else is I find so much love and joy in doing overnighters, and specifically I love to do kind of like class 5 more adventure overnighters. I think that is just my like ultimate happy place. So definitely want to put a priority on just getting out on new ones, getting out on ones I've done. There's still, I mean, even in California, there's so many runs that I want to do. So really want to put a focus on that. I think one of my big goals for next year is hopefully getting out on a Devil's Post Pile, which is one of the biggest, stoutest Cali overnighters that there is. So that's a big priority for me. And then I'm hoping, I haven't heard any information on like the qualification process or anything, but NFC is of course coming back, so I'd love to compete in that next year.
Yeah.
And as far as like, I'm kind of just doing competitions that sound fun to me right now. I still really struggle with easily getting into a negative mindset around competition. And so I'm kind of just choosing the ones that I'm like, that would be awesome. Like Freestyle Worlds in 2023 was back on a wave, which I love wave boating. And so I went out to that one.
Me too.
Which I know you said junior world champion. I also am a women's world champion now.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and I apologize for missing that.
Fine.
What year was that?
It was 2023.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So until this recent Worlds, you were the defending world champion.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, it was a special one just because it was back on a wave and it was in the States. It was in Columbus, Georgia. So it was really cool. And I totally came off the couch, like just worked super hard and managed to pull out a win, which was really cool. So that was fun. And I skipped Worlds this year because they were in a hole. I was like, hole voting, I don't know, that doesn't sound very fun right now. And so yeah, just putting a focus on kind of anything that makes me super stoked and really like making sure that that's the priority is kind of where I'm at right now. But then I'm also, I think right now I have my photography business, but I have 3 autoimmune diseases, one of which is type 1 diabetes, which is an expensive disease. And I'm kind of hitting the point in my life where I'm realizing that I need to put a priority on having good insurance. And so I think I'm going to be working towards going back to nursing school over the next couple of years.
Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, the lifestyle of a competitive traveling kayaker is one of the most incredible things you could ever do, but it does take a toll on your body and your mind and the ability to have consistent income, insurance, things like that, we could take for granted. And,
totally.
And hopefully you'll be able to balance, be able to, like we mentioned Adrian, the work she does as firefighter and EMT, but still finds plenty of time to go play.
Yep, that's my goal right there, is basically to work a life balance as much as I can, just like he's doing.
Let's eddy out and take a quick break. Do you need a break from the cold of a North American winter? Then let's head south to the best whitewater on earth at Pecan Kayak Retreat. Email me at bflowkayak@gmail.com to learn more about how you can take the ultimate paddling adventure in the heart of Chile. Now let's peel out and head downstream. Yeah, that would be awesome. This next segment is called Flow Advice, and the first person that I want you to think about giving advice to would be somebody starting in the sport new, and then also, and you may not. I've been talking with people who have been who are a little bit more. They've got more life experience and maybe, they've gotten away from the sport and come back. And it doesn't sound like, you've got tons of life experience, but, maybe people who are a little bit older that we've been talking to. But if you could think about people who are older, because it seems to me there's a lot of people in their 40s and 50s who used to kayak 15, 20 years ago. And then for whatever reason, because of life, they're getting back into the sport now. So advice that you would give to a beginner and advice that you would give to somebody returning to the sport.
All right. Okay. So advice I would give to a beginner, I think, especially nowadays with social media, I'm not sure how much social media plays a part, but I personally think it plays a pretty big part, is I think that it's super easy to want to step up very quickly. Like, I'm meeting a lot of people that are like, I've been paddling for a year and I'm running the trust and the little white and stuff like that. And that's fine. You know, everybody progresses at their own pace. But I would say to someone that's new and getting into it is the river is incredible. It is the most fun place you're ever going to be. However, it's also very dangerous and very unforgiving, and it becomes unforgiving in a heartbeat. So I would say it's okay to not progress crazy fast, even if your friends are, or even if you're seeing like other people who have been paddling the same amount of time as you, like posting videos of doing stuff that's harder. Like, it's really valuable, I think, to make a good base in kayaking. And so I think it's important to put a lot of effort into, I'm going to go run my local class 2, but I'm going to practice catching like every single eddy or hitting every single boof or surfing every single wave. Like, put a lot of time into taking these baby steps and making sure you're progressing on easier whitewater, because then when you make the next step up, it's going to feel a lot easier and you're going to stay a lot safer. So I would say that's my advice for someone like just starting out, and then someone who's maybe getting back into it. I would say a similar kind of theme for part of it. It would be like, you know, you're not going to feel as good as you did last time you paddled, you know, 15, 20 years ago. You're not, unfortunately, going to be able to go step out and do like class 4. So like, remember, always build a base. For any sport you do, it's going to help you to build a base, and putting effort into like the basic technique is like so important. So I would say kind of the same advice of like, go out on your local class 2, like do a bunch of really hard moves, and once that feels super easy, like go up to class 3 and just really build that base back up. Because I've seen like a lot of my parents' friends and a lot of my friends, I've seen them kind of take a long break and then they come off the couch and they try to do something really difficult and they get hurt, or they're swimming and then they're miserable and then they're scared and then they don't want to go paddle all over again.
Right, they're right back to the couch.
Yeah, exactly. So build that base. It's like, it is kind of, it can be boring sometimes, but there's always like ways to make it more fun. Like my dad and I, when I was like growing up and kind of building my base, is we would try, once something got easy, we'd be like, okay, let's see how few strokes we can do it in, or let's do it backwards now, and just stuff like that. So there's fun ways you can do it. Like, you can turn it into games with your friends. Like, I think the base in kayaking is so important. So yeah, kind of similar advice for both, honestly.
Love it. So this next segment is, I call it the rapids. So we're gonna get to run some rapids together here, and this is kind of like a rapid fire, but it's a Mount Rushmore rapid fire. So I'm gonna throw out a topic, and you're gonna give me like your 3 to 5 best things you can think of, or favorite things you can think of from these different topics.
Okay.
Or categories.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is kayak designs.
Ooh, the Jackson Flow. That boat is amazing. I love that thing. And then I think slalom boats are amazing. Like, modern day slalom boats are so fun. I think they're so underrated. And the Rockstar 5 on a wave. Like, top 3 kayaks right there for sure.
Love it. Rivers of all time.
Fantasy Falls, High Water North Fork Payette, and maybe High Water South Salmon.
Okay. Play spots or rapids?
Ooh, Garb.
Yeah.
On the Ottawa. I have a really soft spot for the Columbus wave. It's really hard, but I love it. And rapids? Oh, that's so hard. Okay, I'm gonna say a river as a play spot, actually. 2 rivers as play spots, because you can take a half slice out there and just go crazy. North Fork Feather River, like Tobin Loban section, and North Fork American Chamberlain Falls section.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Countries to paddle in.
Man, I I'm terrible. I've really only done slalom primarily outside of the States. But I'm going to say California should count as a country because it's so amazing for paddling. And I had a ton of fun up in British Columbia
Okay.
and
So
Idaho.
so no South America for you yet, or?
Not yet. It's on the
Oh,
list. I'm just terrible. I quit skiing when I started getting super competitive in kayaking, and so ever since COVID, I came back and was like, okay, I'm taking a step back from competing full time. You know, what do I want to do? I was like, I want to get skis. And so the last
oh,
like
cool.
5 years, I've just been so happy to get on my skis in the winter.
Oh, very cool. Whatever makes you smile and brings you that flow. That flow can be
Totally.
in frozen form, right? It does.
Yep, totally. It's just still water.
That's right. That's right. A river that you've not done yet that you want to do.
um, the Devil's Postpile on the San Joaquin
Okay.
and the Stikine, and I think I'm just gonna stick with those two for now. There's too many that pop into my brain to sort through.
Okay. Kayakers of all time.
Ooh, it's hard. Okay, I would say I'm gonna do some dark horses. Phil
Oh, do it.
Boyer. Phil Boyer, he's this savage. He's done a ton of expedition kayaking, but he's just this super sweet nurse that lives in California.
Awesome.
Tracy Tate / her last name is now Tracy Young. She is my dark horse California savage female hero. She's
Okay.
incredible. She's run like everything out here. And Ben Stooksbury.
Love it.
There's
Love
so
it.
many more, but
Oh, of course. Yeah. All right, so this one is called Final Flow, and hopefully you are many, many, many decades away from Final Flow. But when you get older, you'll start realizing, and I don't mean to like talk to you like, oh, I'm this old person and you're so young, because you've got so much life experience as well. But as you get older, you do these things. You're like, I didn't realize I did this for the last time. Some things like going to high school, it's the last day of high school or the last day of college. But there's things we do in life that we don't realize I just did it for the last time until years later you look back like, oh, I never did that thing again. So if the river goddess came down and said, Sage, this is your last time it's the last time you get to kayak, but you get to pick your boat, you get to pick the river, and you get to pick your crew.
okay. Man, I love these questions.
Good.
I would say as of right now, and it might change, but my like happiest, coolest place on the river is Fantasy Falls. So I
Okay.
would say Fantasy Falls. I would say in a medium Jackson flow, a pink Jackson flow. And I would say if that would be so hard because I would want all of my friends and my river family, which is so big. But I would have to say, like, just to focus on, like, the core people that I would absolutely want there no matter what. It would have to be Phil, Stooksbury, Tracy's husband, and... Oh, this is so hard. I would just say any of my friends that could come and were around, my like good friend, like my friend Maddie Kimmel, and oh man, there's too many. That's such a hard question.
Well, that's why I ask them. I mean, it wouldn't be very entertaining if I asked you easy questions, right?
Right.
Well, Sage, I'm so glad we finally got to connect and that you were able to join us on B-Flow Sessions. Keep charging. I'm just, again, I feel like, I'm this old, like wise old man because I keep saying like old man things, like I'm proud of you kind of things. But seriously, as someone just who loves the sport, who loves young athletes in the sport, of all generations, I love watching what you do. And so congratulations and keep it up.
No, thank you so much. No, that actually, it means a lot. And I love, like, I feel, it makes me feel, like, special, especially, like, right now, I haven't paddled for months and I'm, like, kind of having a woe is me, like, oh, I'm a has-been because I haven't been paddling and posting and whatever. And so just stuff like that, like, stuff like this really kind of boosts me up and it's like, no, you're fine. calm down.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you considering me, and yeah, it's super
I would say two things about you thinking you're a has-been. Number one, you're way, way far away from being a has-been yet. And as two, coming from a has-been, it is much better to be a has-been than a never was.
That's very true. Very true. Yeah, I just need to get a little bit more on probably posting on social media. I think I'd feel like that, less like that. But at the same time, I've really discovered for a while there, I was just so stressed about getting media that I was like prioritizing media over just actually kayaking. And so I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that anymore. I'm going to like take a step back and just focus on, enjoying the river and being out there and in the moment rather than, getting a shot, which is great. I love it. I'll take that any day over like getting a cool shot for social media, but it has kind of resulted in a lot of the opposite of me feeling like just because like I'm doing all this stuff, but there's no, especially like photos coming from any of it. It's just GoPro video. And so there's been a lot of times where I'm like, man, I'm doing stuff, but I don't feel like I'm getting recognized for it in like the magazines or blah, 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 or whatever. And it's like, well, I'm not going in and prioritizing being like, okay, I'm going to go run this. Is there a photographer? Is there this? Is there shore footage? Like, which, it's like, it's a choice. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's, being a paddler in the late 90s, early 2000s, I mean, obviously we had cameras, but, we had to put things in dry boxes
Totally.
and so we didn't have GoPros mounted on our helmets, and the amount of things that we did and saw that there's no documentation of is both sad and awesome at the same time. Because like I would love to be able to go back and share those things or post those things, but it's kind of cool that it's really only shared between me and my crew. That's kind of cool
Totally.
too.
Yeah, I think it makes it more special. It's like it's a cool word of mouth thing rather than like look at me all the time. Which, I love seeing all my friends post on social media and getting to watch them through that. I think is really cool, especially when I'm hurt. But yeah, it's definitely it's different. It's different for sure.
So I got to ask you about your wrist real quick. You broke your wrist, you said. What kind of cast did you have, and were you able to paddle with the cast on?
Man, so when I first broke it, I got to the orthopedic center and they were like, you're going to need surgery. So they put me in a cast that went over my elbow. And that was terrible. Oh my goodness. It drove me crazy. But I think I was in that cast for about 2.5 weeks. And then I got surgery. Yeah, so it would have been a little over 2 weeks. And then I got surgery end of July. Broke it mid-July, surgery end of July. They put in a big old plate. I think I have like 6 screws in there now. And then I was in a cast for 2 weeks after that, like a hard cast. And that only went up to my forearm, luckily, which that was a little bit nicer. But then they were really worried about, especially with my diabetes, they were worried about the incision getting infected. So I couldn't do anything for 2 weeks. Like, not a thing. They're like, don't go for walks. Do not sweat under it. Like, sit, please sit. I was like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. But then that came off, which luckily was only for 2 weeks. And then it's just been pretty hardcore rehab and trying to get range of motion back.
Okay.
But as of about a week ago, I was cleared. I had a brace that I had to wear a ton, which I didn't wear it as much as I was supposed to, but now I'm like fully cleared, pretty much fully healed, and now it's just building strength back up and working on range of motion, which my range of motion still sucks. So
Yeah. So I broke my thumb snowboarding. I mean, not nowhere near as bad as your wrist injury, but just being a kayaker and having that, did it snowboarding, and it was literally like 3 months before team trials, and I went to this doctor and I was just like explaining to him my situation, and basically he was like, because you're young, you're athletic, I can get you out of the cast like a month earlier if I do like this removable cast, but you have to wear this like removable cast while you're paddling because like gripping the paddle. But he molded my brace to my paddle. Like I brought it in and he molded everything to my paddle. It was really cool.
Whoa, that's cool.
Didn't do very well in team trials that year, but it was still cool that I got to get back on the water sooner.
That's really cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I had it happen in Boise, which I've had really good luck with, like having injuries in like Colorado and stuff where the doctors are more used to athletes and all that, but
Right.
they couldn't even comprehend what kayaking was. I tried to explain it and it just went straight over everyone's head. So I was like, well, okay, I guess I just won't do anything for 2 weeks. But honestly, as soon as I was out of the first cast and the incision and the stitches were out and the incision was like healed, I went boating. It was glorified floating. I couldn't really do much, but I did go kayak.
Well, good.
Yeah, but it was
All
nice.
right.
End of September was like the first time that I actually felt like, wow, I can mostly take a forward stroke, so that's cool.
Okay. Yeah. So you should be, I mean, just 100% ready to get back in the water, and definitely by next season, you'll be back to out there kicking everybody's butt again.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'm trying.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. And it would be awesome if we ever run across each other on the river and get to paddle sometime.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah, let's definitely stay in touch and let me know, especially if you get out west at all.
For sure. I'm loosely planning on coming out in Colorado in June sometime.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. I think
Yeah.
I might be a little committed to like the Cali / North Fork Championships thing in June, but if you make it up at all, let me know.
Okay. Well, it was great to meet you finally, get to talk to you, and thanks for being on B-Flow Sessions.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was awesome to meet you, and yeah, I hope we get out on the water soon.
All right, cool. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of B-Flow Sessions, where we explore how paddlers find their flow on the water and in life. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, leave a rating, or share it with a friend. It truly helps us grow the community. And a huge thank you to Pucón Kayak Retreat for sponsoring today's episode. If you're ready for a world-class Chilean whitewater adventure, email me at bflowkayak@gmail.com and I'll help you get dialed in. Until next time, keep finding your flow.